And we're live! Hello, everybody. I have the magnificent Sharon Castle with me today. Hello, Sharon.
Oh,
So
can you hear
wonderful.
me?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
wonderful to have you. How are you today?
I'm great. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Such a pleasure. I would love to spend some time talking about your business model, your amazing coaching academy, and very importantly, how it came to be that you are now using an online launch model and how juicy stuff
Cool.
to chat about. Do you want to
Okay.
jump in? Do you want to jump in and tell me a little bit about your recent transition from running programs to a online launch based model, and we can go from there wherever we lead.
Well, it was a very interesting experience because I had no idea that the model even existed. And so going from the old traditional way of doing business, long form, just constantly high touch, to this new model was so exciting for me because for the first time in my professional life, and I've been doing this a long time, I found that I had space around things. It felt to me like there was just like a bit of space, and that was so new for me, and I loved it and I wanted more of it. So I guess once you've tasted, how much sweeter and nicer and easier and more exciting this model is, it's a no-brainer just to continue with that and never ever go back to the old way of doing the way I used to do it, which is just so long and protracted and so on. So it's been a lovely transition.
Well, that's music to my ears. But for those who are listening who maybe they're not even getting it right in the old fashioned way, I'd love us to do a mini masterclass in both. So, for context, Sharon is in one of my one on one offers, my Wing Woman offer. It's been such a delight. We've been working together intensely for a couple of months. And just a few weeks ago, she hosted her own launch event, did an enrollment into her own existing program that she used to enroll traditionally, and is just coming back out into an audience building phase for her own program. And that was a wild adventure we can talk about in a minute. But tell me a little bit about your previous approach, because some people might be watching us thinking, gosh, that's quite far ahead in the journey. You already had existing programs when we started working together. Tell us a little bit about how that looked.
Well, previously it felt to me like I was constantly having to hustle, and I didn't even realize that I was hustling. It's
Wow.
just this idea all the time. I've got to fill my time, I've got to fill my space, I've got to fill my diary, because if I don't, then something is not going to work. And so you see yourself getting so caught up on a daily basis with doing more, 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 more so that you can get more. And it just didn't feel, like I could maintain that for a long time because I've been at this for over 40 years. And so once I'd seen that the simplicity of the model, although there's work involved, there's no doubt about it, but the simplicity of the model means that you don't actually have to have an established program like mine. You can literally start from zero and build something up because the steps are very easy to follow. And you made it really easy, Tan. Being my wing woman, you just guided me and led me every step of the way, literally held my hand until I could cross that bridge and feel confident enough. And for anyone that hasn't ever done like this kind of a launch, what you give is just so much support. You hold space for me. You held space for me so that I could find my own way without taking it away from me, but definitely holding me up so that I could continue to walk on that same path. So it was actually a wonderful experience.
It was. We had an amazing adventure together. Since we're talking about a launch, let's pop in there and talk about a launch. So, Right now, I am in a launch. So if you're watching this video, you're having a meta experience on Meta. That's not a coincidence. You are hearing about launches through the process of a launch. What is a launch? A launch is a live event where you provide tons of value. It's usually a free training program. Right now, my free training is about how to craft what your monthly recurring revenue offer is. And the purpose of that is to attract the right person into your world, build your audience with exactly a solution that is useful and valuable, and then draw their attention to ways that they can work with you. It's usually enrollment into your program. It could be a group coaching program. It could be a one-on-one offer. It is a type of step-by-step process to let people know, hey, this woman can help me. How do I get into her world? And in your case, you have a signature program called The Awakening, and we crafted for the first time a launch event called The Big Relief. And boy, oh boy, was that an adventure. You did a spectacular job of showing up in the face of all uncertainty and delivering this beautiful workshop that transformed hundreds of people's lives. I think in the end we had like almost 500 people sign up for that.
Right.
And, you know, I was there, obviously, like you say, in the background, helping you craft what was going out in the front, but also, you know, managing stuff in the back. And I saw that people's lives were truly transformed from that workshop, which is why I wasn't surprised, even though the experience of a launch can leave you wondering, who's coming into this next step? Are people going to enroll? I wasn't surprised that we reached and even exceeded our conservative level enrollment goals for your program that you promoted at the end, which is called The Awakening, a beautiful program. And maybe you want to tell us a little bit about that experience, this launching. This marketing model is called live launching, and it is a necessary piece in the online business world. But of course, the first step is having something that you're going to launch, which is why my free event is about what are you going to launch. But the next step, make no mistake, is launching.
Yeah. Well, it's a wild ride. That's what I can tell you for sure. The wild ride. You're aware of the sort of energy that you're going to exude, but once you're in it, it's just so exciting when you start to hear the responses from people, because, you know, for me, I always just delivered the program. There was none of this sort of pre-program to let people know and understand what it is that you've got to offer them. And they really, really do that. So for me, the joy of serving at that level, because I've always been a person who knows how to serve, that I know for sure. But to serve them with so much joy and to give it to them, you know, for free, and allow them to find their way within that Big Relief workshop series that we ran was wonderful, and it inspired me so much. I wanted to give more. I wanted to, you know, give it better. I wanted to make it better. So it does require of you to really love what you do. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And then just to love the learning curve, because it was a big learning curve for me. But I enjoyed it so much because I had people like you just helping me and supporting me. So I would highly recommend it to anyone who's used to the old-fashioned way and the long way of doing things. Everything's automated. It absolutely works seamlessly and fluidly and easily, and what I call effortless effort. So you put the effort in, but it just goes and it flows because you understand that system. So the system was the new thing for me. I know how to teach programs. I know how to write programs. I know how to deliver programs. But the system of the way all of those 3 steps worked was really mind-blowingly different and far more impactful. And really, at the end of the day, as a coach, that's my job, is to impact people. So to be able to impact more people at a higher level was just what I really wanted to do. And it was time for change. And it came at the perfect time for me. So it really was such a spectacular thing to go through.
Amazing. And here's the good news. The good news for you while we're talking, but the good news for anyone listening is that you never have your first launch twice. Meaning, it takes a lot of work to put all those pieces in place. Okay? But those pieces are in place now. You know, everything that was made for that first launch, like crafting your launch event or the big relief workshop, that workshop is mapped. When you decide you're going to run that again, you know what you're going to run. You know what it's called, you know how to do it, you've got your notes, you've got all the tech, you've got the pages, you've got the social media posts, you've got the images, you literally have the entire thing mapped. And whenever you're going to go into a launch again, it's there. And that's why the language for this kind of business model I sometimes use as an information asset. Because, you know, in the olden days, the only way to get an asset was to buy it. But in these days, with our wonderful tech that we've got available to us, we can build it. And that's what we did together. We built those assets. And anybody who is going to shift into this model has to go through the process of building their assets in the first place, like the sales page and the offer, which is what we're doing in the free bootcamp, and the way that you're going to launch, what the event is going to look like, who you're going to invite, what you're going to say, how you're going to enroll people through emails or a video. All of that's, like you said, a lot of work. But you don't do it more than once. And that is incredible. It's the why I'm in love with this business model. Because you are now on the verge of being able to do that a second time. You just got to set the date and decide.
That's the part that I love. You know, it's something that's evergreen. It's there, and we can use it again and again because the message won't change, and the way that we, you know, gave it to the people who wanted to be part of it, that won't change. Just the people will change. To me, that's like an absolute no-brainer. Why wouldn't you want to do that? But like I said, you know, it's something, if you don't know about it until you've tried it, you won't believe how beautiful the process is. And how you can actually see what's going on with the people that you are delivering to, even before the program. So you have like a little glimpse into what it might be like, but on a much higher level. It's almost like you've gone beyond where you used to be, and you didn't know you could. And that's a beautiful thing. That's called progress on steroids, you know.
Yes,
so that learning,
exactly. Totally. And another element which you'll experience in the rinse and repeat cycles over the coming years for you is that there isn't a limit to the number of people who can join your launch event. Obviously,
yes.
The first time around, you have a manageable number. You're just getting to grips with everything. You have a couple hundred people, you know, that you can cope with. But there are people who are on year 5 and year 10 who literally have tens of thousands of people coming to the same style event. So if you are in a one-on-one space now, like you've been, where you're coaching or you're selling into your group coaching through sales calls, one person at a time, that's just got a natural cap. You can't have a bazillion phone calls. But if you're hosting an event, if you're doing live launching as a way of filling your offers, whether there's 10,000 people coming to your free live launch event or 5, it's exactly the same amount of work.
Absolutely. And I mean, there are how many 8 billion people in the world, you know, so it's a wonderful time to be alive with this technology that we can have access to. And for me at my age, I'm like, whoa, if I can do it, I can do it, honestly. So I love the whole process of it. And like you say, the exciting part is I've done it now. So now I'm just on the other end of it. And I'm so looking forward to the next one when the time comes, because it's all based. Yeah.
Yes. You use a term that I love, and I'd love you to talk a little bit about it, called quality time remaining. I know you got it from someone and you use it in your own work, but I'd love to bring it into this space because it feels very connected to why I show up and spread the message of leveraging your time and amplifying your ability to impact. It's got a very similar idea about what you do with your one wild and precious life. So tell us a bit about that idea.
Oh, I'd love to tell you that, because you get to a certain sort of season in your life where you kind of very aware that time is limited, and it's not a scary thing for me at all. But I want to make sure that I pack into that time the things that I want to pack into that time. So that means only doing the things that really are going to serve me first, and then my clients. Because if I'm not well and happy, how on earth do I deliver what it is I'm attempting to teach? So it
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense to me to take the time that I have and create quality memories so that I can enjoy my work even more. And honestly, for the years that I've done my work, I have to say, I find myself like, oh, what do I do now? I've got this bit of time, and so the focus on this thing that I'm doing, and what I used to do was to try to spread myself too thin, not realizing it. And I'm loving this new space, because my QT, quality time remaining, means that I'm single-minded about what I want to do. I put my energy and my efforts into that, and the rest of the time I get to do the things that I want to do with the time that I have remaining. And that's not all about work. I love working, I love what I do, but that's not all that there is to life. So I think someone in this space who finds themselves like overwhelmed with all of the things that they need to do, this is the perfect solution, because you can cut out all that, the middle, like, I don't know what the word is, but the middleman of that, it's like, it goes directly to the source rather than to every little step that you had to take in the previous business model. So yeah,
Yes.
QTR is a big thing for me at this stage.
Yeah, I love it. I just love it. I mean, the whole ethos of Differently as a brand is inspired by Tim Ferriss. He's got some. I've got his whole stack of books here. I came across his book, The 4-Hour Workweek, a decade ago, which was actually quite late. It came out in 2005, and I only encountered it in like early teens, 2011 or something, 2012. And the whole premise of that book is not that you only work for 4 hours a week, but it's that you use automation and systems and outsourcing and defining what is important and leaving or eliminating what is not important as a driving force in your life. And that to me echoes QTR, because it doesn't actually matter about the time remaining. It just matters about the time.
100%.
Because anyone, even if you're 25, your QTR that you don't even know could be like 2 years. We don't know.
Exactly. We don't know.
So in my big drive behind getting the message out is that, you know what? Do you know how lucky we are that we live in 2024? Do you know that we could have been born at a time where to reach one person you had to run down the bloody pathway in your stone village and sit them down and have a conversation with them? And that was it. And you had to do that 100 times. And, 1,000 years ago, you had to be an emperor to speak to 1,000 people.
Right.
So we are so privileged to be living at a time where it's actually possible that personally, I feel like if you don't give it a shot, I can't understand why not. I just can't.
Yeah, well, I so agree with you. And when you presented it to me, there was just something that clicked in me. There was just this like idea of like, if I don't do this, I'd be an idiot, because I can see how much easier this will be post the launch. And then, of course, when I do it again, it's just gonna get easier and easier, because I'm always working. I love to work. It makes sense to me to do something that I love to do in the simplest, easiest, and most effortless way that I can do it, because then I can do more. So I'm so glad that I was brave enough, I guess, to try it, because when you first get into it, there's all of these things that go through your mind, and like, can I do it? Am I good enough to do it? How will I learn all this stuff? But honestly, the step-by-step process, one thing at a time process, really made a lot of sense to me. And I never, ever lost my way. There were temporary moments of like, whoa, and then you get through it and you get to the next level and the next level. And here we are today, post the launch. People are still on the program, loving every moment of it. And I can't wait for the next one.
You said something important just now. I'd love to circle back to it. You said, oh gosh, I was so used to filling up my time. And now that I've shifted to this business model, which in short is build your audience, build your audience, build your audience, build your audience, host a launch event, enroll in your program, deliver your program, deliver your program, rinse and repeat. Build your audience, build your audience, host a live event, enroll in your program, deliver your program. And nothing else. And the trick is, and nothing else.
Oh, yes.
That's actually one of the hard parts. And not start a new offer, and not host another event, and not, all these other things that we tend to want to do. Not just you. I'm not just pointing at you, I'm pointing at me, I'm pointing at everyone. A big part of my work, especially my one-on-one work, is telling my clients what to not do. I tell them what to actually do, but I specifically tell them what to stop doing, or not even think about doing, or just cut out entirely. So let's talk about that. It's a thing. Many years ago, I ran a webinar, I think it was 2018 or something, and I had a big slide that said, addicted to the hustle. And if you are, you might get attracted to the idea of time freedom, but you don't really mean it because you actually like to be busy. What have you got to say about that whole concept?
I've got a lot to say about it. First of all, most of the conditioning that we've had has created this idea in us that we've got to look busy or sound busy to be important, right? And so that's kind of the background premise that we build all these things on. And then, of course, if you're important enough to be busy, how lucky for you, then people might take you seriously. So the whole idea is about your own security, about believing yourself first. The freedom that gives you with just focusing on what's really important. And Tamron, you've had to give me some little, guidance, like very gentle, not so gentle guidance. Get back on track, Sharon. No, you can't. No, you can't. I've loved that. Because there's been nobody in my life ever since the time I started working as a young woman at 17 years old that has said to me, don't do all of that. I've only ever heard do it all, never say no. You must make sure that you're busy all the time. Hard work at the end of the day is what gives you your importance. All of that rubbish. And so to be told, no, don't do that. Just, you've got something so good. Stick with that thing. And of course, there are other little projects that I want to do, but I see how the freedom is created in the idea that this thing right now is all I need to do. Because the habit, and it's such a bad habit, that comes along with you as a business person is, if I don't, I'll fall through the cracks and then I won't make it. So the fear. And so you don't even realize that you are so addicted to the hustle. I did not realize that. And I teach the opposite of it. And I'm so grateful that I got that information. Without having gone through this process, I would not have realized that. And I might go another 10 years in the same kind of, and I'm using the word lightly in air quotes, struggle. It feels like you struggle. And I'm seeing, no, that's not true. That's not true.
Yeah. I mean, I love to use the lens, the phrase, how easy can this be?
Yes.
And it feels like a cheat. If you're hearing that for the first time, you might be thinking, what crap is this woman talking? Because that was my reaction, which is why I know it's probably yours. But what I have come to understand is that we are so lucky to be living at a time that, yes, once you get your foundations in place and once you've built those assets, you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. You can reinvent the wheel every time, but then you can be 10 years in business and all you've done is repeated year one 10 times, as opposed to 10 years in business and you've put a foundation, and then you've leveraged, and then you've expanded, and then you've reiterated, and then you've actually got 10 years worth of progress. But what you have to allow yourself, and you have to give yourself the permission for, is for it to be as easy as possible. And that is not a message that you get from a little child. You're supposed to get your money by the sweat of your brow, and you're supposed to deserve it, and you're supposed to work hard, and all of these ideas that you're going to have to slowly, over the years, let go of if you really want time freedom.
Oh, honestly, you've hit the nail on the head there. I heard years ago somebody said, I can't remember where I heard it, but it went like this: how good can you stand it?
Yeah.
You know, is this your brain? And obviously being a life coach, and I train coaches how to be coaches. And this is what I talk about all the time, that little default that is there that drives you all the time. You have to be able to notice that. How do you notice? It's the feeling, the feeling that you get like, this is not good. Why am I doing this? But until somebody comes along and points out the fact that it doesn't have to be that hard, you continue to go down that road because you know nothing different, because that's the neural pathway. It's the programming of the brain. I'm very happy to have unlearned all the things that I put into place that made me believe that that's the only way that it needed to work. And as you know, it came at a very pivotal time for me in my business. So I'm so happy that I could see that. And that change was much bigger. It was a massive change for me because of everything going on in the background. But it was the vital, necessary change at the perfect divine time. And I'm very happy.
Me too. Me too. I'm also so happy. There's one last idea that has come out a little bit, but I want to really dive deep into it. And it is an idea around a business model that has got such scalability, literally ceilingless, limitless, could get you into a place where you think you want a mega business. Okay? But I want to introduce this idea that there is a question we can all answer, and it is, how much is enough?
Love that.
And I know you and I really meet on this in so many wonderful ways, and I want any listener to reflect on this concept, because there are examples in this space of people with mega businesses. Just in South Africa alone, there's some content I've released. You can go and have a look. There are people literally with a monthly recurring revenue of 500,000 Rand, R1 million. Like, it's extremely scalable. But I want to caution you that instead of starting your journey aiming for, another planet, the moon, start your journey with just asking yourself how much is enough, because you might find that it's a lot less than you think. And what I mean by that is, I want to jump into this beautiful story. You met somebody who inspired you to even change the way your whole life operates. Would you like to tell that story?
That whole idea of bigger and more, is also something part of our culture, isn't it?
Exactly,
and a long time ago, more than 20 years ago, my husband and I met a couple. Long story short, they had been travelers and adventurers for more than 20 years at that stage. I'm going back a good 12, 13 years ago. And they were in corporate America. They sat with us one evening over dinner and highlighted for us the amount of time and energy, money we were spending on things that we didn't really need, because we also had this mindset where we wanted to change our lifestyle and have more fun. And so the way we were living our lives was keeping us stuck without the idea that we could have fun. We were waiting for our measly little 3 weeks, of holiday that we might get after we'd worked so hard because we deserved it. And we didn't want that. So we literally started to simplify our lives, downscale, 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 to where I'm sitting speaking to you now in what we call our tree house. It's that small, but it's my husband and I and our dog. And what it's really given us is the freedom to go on adventures because of the business model that I'm in now, because I can teach many people all at once. And also the amount of money that I need to make doesn't need to sustain a big machine, because we don't want a big machine. We want a life. We want to have fun. We've got our quality time remaining. And so that's not conducive to having fun if you've got all of these things in place that you've got to service in terms of money. So it's lovely to have money. I love pretty things. I love to help my family, but it's to a level that is sustainable for me first. And so the QTR is on the top of my list. And if it doesn't feel good, I don't want to know about it, because it must feel good for me, because then I've got all this energy to do more. What a wonderful thing. So that's what we learned from that couple. And both my husband and I, we go on big African trips every single year. We go for long weekends. We've got a house in Ponta that we can go to. We've got lovely areas that we can put our rooftop tents up and get on the road and go. And that's really what we wanted. So that I don't want to work all the time. It doesn't make sense to me.
Now, if you're listening and this is the first time you've heard this idea, I'm so excited for you because this is an idea that once you just let it sink in and once you truly absorb it into you, it will change the trajectory of your life in a way that is surprising. Because maybe you came into my world because I talk about money and revenue thinking, how much? As much as possible. And I'm going to surprise you and say, you know what? It doesn't have to be gazillions. The task in the monthly recurring revenue bootcamp on lesson 1 is, what is the monthly recurring revenue goal and why? What is it for? And the purpose behind that is just to decide, you know what? My time, my most precious resource, my only non-renewable resource I have on the planet is worth so much more to spend an afternoon or a morning walking on the beach or building Lego with my child or painting. And in order to have that time, this is the life that I need. And it could be a tree house or a tiny house or a flat or something that is manageable and sustainable. So those principles came across in the 4-hour work week all those years ago, and they are as true today. For anybody listening, it's not just about getting bigger. Although this model does allow hugeness on a scale you can't even think about. But I don't want to invite you into a space where you're just going to hustle, but in a different environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Tam, you said that so beautifully because really that's what it comes down to. I don't think we are designed to work all the time, number one. I think we need all the crap, that we seem to buy, number two. And there's a beautiful life out there that we can live and go on adventures and have enjoyment and have fun. And I mean, we all know this when they interview people who are on their deathbeds. No one says, I wish I worked more. Nobody says that. Everyone says, like, I wish I'd had more fun. I wish I'd played more. I wish I'd spent more time with my family or with my friends. Well, I'm not going to be that statistic. So I decided that years ago. And even now, after all this time of being in this work, I didn't realize that it could even be easier, better, was more time freedom. And that's what I'm after. So this is what it gave me. And I'm on your boot camp at the moment with your recurring revenue. I want to learn more. I want to know more. And that's really what it is. It's about learning how to do this easier, more simply, rather than bigger. That's not my goal.
Sharon, for anyone who's maybe just at the beginning of their journey, and that could mean perhaps they have a business like you where they already have programs or they are a coach, or maybe they have a totally traditional business but they know they could help someone in a mentorship or coaching way, and they're just watching with curiosity thinking, can this be true? Not for me, maybe for them. What do you say to that person?
I want to tell them to dive in, but I know when I say dive in, nobody really understands what that means. So basically it is just take the first step towards getting this right. Learn something. It is a little bit of a skill set, but you won't know if you don't try it. And honestly, this is the way of the future. It really doesn't make sense to do it the old way when you've got this and you've got an, if you've got an information product or whatever you've got, this is the way to get it out to so many people. I've seen that for myself. So I've just had one launch. I didn't know what was possible. I now can conclusively, honestly, and sincerely say, I wish I'd found this 10 years ago, but I'm here now. So, don't let it sway you. You feel like it takes time. Everything takes time. Start today. Get onto this boot camp. Find out what it is that you need. Get your numbers down. Do a little bit of work for big reward in terms of time free. For me, that's number one. The money is nice to have and it always comes, but for me, it's a time free than the money because that's my life. That's my life. So yeah, get enough. Start with your first step.
That's wonderful. I wonder if we can close with two things. What was the hardest part and what was the best part of...
Oh, all right. Well, I'd say, the hardest part for me, and this is just, I can only speak about myself, was literally standing and doing what you're doing now, getting live. Because you have this idea like, what will people say? And, how will they perceive you? You have to get rid of all of that. But that was the hard part for me. I can do that with people that I know because I've been presenting programs for, decades. But to not know who's on the other side is hard. So that was the hard part. The best part, I'd say, was getting the response from the people that came onto the workshop series. Just those little moments where they're like aha moments, a little pop that they had, like wow, and hearing something that really stood out for them, the responses that came, that was the best part. It wasn't even the people that signed up and came onto the program. Just seeing people shifting from where they were, even a little bit, to seeing something fresh and new for themselves and feeling better about themselves is the joy of what I do. And for me, that was the absolutely best part.
Amazing. I love that you brought those two important things up, and just to bring us to a close, I'll speak about them a little bit. I love that you talked about your favorite part being service and serving people, because in the membership courses, coaching, mentorship models of making a revenue stream from those specifically, which is the theme we're speaking about, it is about an act of service. It's easy to think it's about you being visible on the internet. And when I say you, I mean me, I mean you who's listening. And that is actually what trips us up. Because as long as I've got an idea that I'm sitting here for me to be important about me instead of you, this person who's watching me, and realizing that you can change your life because I'm doing this, and keeping that as my compass, I can show up. I'll do whatever I need to help you. And if you just change that and change it from, oh, what are they going to say about my wrinkles, or or whatever else is going on, all the things that you can allow to happen, or whatever. Somebody was trying to bash my door down the other day in the middle of a live. Like, if we start to believe incorrectly that stuff's important, instead of you are sitting there right now, maybe in your bed, maybe at your office, maybe you're in your car in the parking lot, and you have been feeling like something really needs to change in your life, and I am here, smeared lipstick and all, to tell you it can. That's what counts.
Right. That's all that counts. I absolutely agree with you. All that counts is that you get out of the way so that you can be something for somebody. For me, that is the most important part of the work that I do. And then, obviously, you want to look nice and all those kind of external physical things, but they're not important as to how you touch another person, where you touch that space where they are feeling so vulnerable and so frightened and so scared. And you've got this privilege and this honor of telling them something that's going to make a difference to them. It doesn't get much better than that for me, really.
Yes, exactly. So two calls to action from this. Two, if you're watching. One is, if your interest has been piqued and you've had this on your to-do list for a long time, maybe you've even tried, maybe you've even bought a couple of courses and they're sitting getting dusty in the digital shelves of your computer, you haven't even logged in. If that's you, then just come into my world. I know I can help you. I know I can. And then if your immediate thought in response to that is, oh, but I could never go live, I could never be visible, my granny's auntie sister will see me on Facebook and she'll think I'm an idiot and all that stuff. I want to tell you, probably they will, but here's why it doesn't count. It doesn't matter. They're not the people who you're trying to help. They're not going to be your audience. And again, just to reference Tim Ferriss, he's been like the third person in this interview today. he has this exercise, which I love and I have been actively doing for years, where he gets himself used to the feeling of being judged and skinned about. And he's got what he calls, I don't even know where, maybe this was in a podcast somewhere, maybe it was a TED talk, I don't know, I've consumed so much of his content over the years, but he talks about this pair of pants he calls his party pants. And I've never seen a picture of them, but in my mind, they're some kind of rave pants from the early 90s with bright colors. And, you know, that's my idea of Tim Ferriss's party pants. And what he does is he puts them on, like on a random Tuesday morning, and he walks down to his local cafe with his party pants on purpose to notice his feelings in response to other people noticing him and talking about it and going, look at that strange weirdo, you know? And he's doing it to get used to the feeling of what that feels like, so that it raises his tolerance for the temperature of that, so that he can get his work out into the world, because he knows that that's important. And my version of that over the years has been all kinds of funny things. There was one time when I first started being a content creator, like 10 years ago, where I would drive around my Jeep in Cape Town with shwe duk on my head making content for that same purpose. And some people would come in the comments saying, oh, how dare you drive and make content? And other people would be like, how dare you appropriate shwe? You know, I had every kind of thing. And I was just like, oh, just noticing how this feels. You know, just noticing and just getting used to it. And, you know, since then I've been live in my pajamas. You know, if it's helping you, I'll do it. And that's a place that we can all get to. We can all get there. But you will never believe that when I first started, I was embarrassed to even listen to a podcast, because I felt embarrassed for the person who was talking, because they didn't know I was embarrassed for them. You know, that was how far my starting blocks were.
Yes.
I mean, my husband will confirm this. I wouldn't even listen to podcasts because I thought it was too embarrassing for the speaker.
How far you've come.
If I can, anybody can.
Yeah.
Anybody.
No, it's so true. We have all of these things that we make up in our heads. None of them matter. I call it our BS monitor. You've got to look for yourself where you are actually giving yourself your own gas about your own stuff, and it's all just nonsense. But I think that doing purposely, going to see what it feels like to be rejected or judged, well, so what? None of your business how anyone feels about you. Just help. And yeah, I think that's a lovely way of doing it. I'm past that now because I've had lots of that. So I'm on the other end of that now.
Yes, thankfully. Sharon, it's been so wonderful to chat with you. I can feel we're going to have a whole series of chats in the future. I'm sure many people can benefit from all of your wisdom. And thank you so much for being brave enough. You used the word brave earlier, to shift into this space. I know from my side it's been such a pleasure to work with you in your business. It's been such a delight to see your message amplifying. I can't wait to see, you know, I'm sure there's going to be an interview in the future where you're talking about your 10,000 person event. I'm 100% confident that's going to happen, and it's just been such a delight to serve you in that way.
Thank you so much. It's been a delight to be here.
Chat to you soon. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.